Okay, so this video follows on from, there's one about how to position and get onto the sling, and then there's another one about how to connect all the machines at the back. This is the in-between bit. So I'm going to go from hoisting, positioning into the chair, and then on to connecting. So you've got the chair. I would always start the chair with the headrest slightly up so that it's not going to get in the way, and then use your rocker switch to lie the chair back. Make sure it's back enough, it doesn't need to go all the way back, but enough so that Beth can easily slide in. Right, Beth, you ready? So then as we go, I'm going to do this as if there's one person, but obviously often there should always be two of you doing it, and I'll try to describe who generally does what. So normally you've got one person steering. So you want to just lift Beth off the bed as far so that her feet are just not touching it and they're not snagging, whatever they're doing, catching on the bed. I'm going to slide you across, Beth. I'm going to go slightly higher. There we go. You don't want to go too high because you don't want to obviously disconnect the tubing. I tend to then pull the chair back slightly so that I've got a little bit more tubing to play with. So the person at the back, you're going to have, Beth's head's all protected, although it is looking like it's back a bit. But the person at the back is going to have one hand on the sling at the back of Beth's head and often one hand on the tubing. The person at the front normally is steering. I'm doing both bits today. And the person at the front is also just going to make sure Beth's feet steer clear of the front of the chair. Don't want to pull Beth's feet out too much, otherwise that swings her body out. So you want to make sure that her bottom is heading right down to the back of the chair, but her feet aren't catching. So we're going down, Beth, so just make sure your feet aren't catching. Going down, I've got my hand on her head, and now I'm going to move my hand. So the person at the back is going to move their hand to put on Beth's hip, and you're just going to make sure that her bottom goes all the way to the back of the chair. Down we go. And I'm holding Beth's head just to make sure as well. So just mind your own head on the hoist as it comes down. Pause when it's down enough. Because I haven't got someone at the front today, I'm just going to secure the hoist, make sure Beth's feet are in a good place. So when Beth's feet are coming down, you want to make sure that they're landing flat onto the chair. I'm going to move the whole hoist away now. So again, normally if the person at the back is on doing my role is taking the back hip parts off, and the person at the front is putting the hoist back away. Just one thing with putting the hoist away, if you put it further out the way, further towards the back of the room, then actually it just steers clear of the door. So go out the way. There we go. Right, so the first job to do, as long as Beth's head is safe, it doesn't need to look, sorry if it's not the most comfortable, Beth, but the first thing to do is get the bottom half of the sling and the positioning right. So let's move your arms to the side, sweetie. So the first thing, unthread your sling, and then make sure that this sling is nice and flat underneath Beth's legs. So you can see it's been bent up. You don't want any lumps and bumps, otherwise that puts pressure on Beth's legs. So make sure it's nice and flat. The middle bit of the sling we'll deal with in a minute when I've done the positioning. So person at the front, just make sure that that's all nice and flat. This chair has got some clips that the seatbelt does into. So always make sure when you're getting out the sling that you just clip it back. It just stops them getting lost down the back of the chair. So it's a helpful thing. So push your sling out the way. Make sure your seatbelt's out. You probably see more easily on this one. There is a little kind of dip, two dips here where the seat belt has actually got two straps that does up, so it kind of should sit with the lumpy bit in the middle. That's a great description. So my seat belt's ready. I need to get Beth's hips now in the right position. So make sure her trousers are out of her groin as well. If you're going to need to do a big pull, these are nice soft trousers, so don't need to. If she's got jeans or something, you'll need to do quite a big pull. Make sure you don't pull her bottom out of the chair. So we're looking for hip bones that are currently here and here to be a little bit more level. So to do that, I'm going to push that one back and pull this one forward a little bit. So you ready, Beth? I've got one hand pushing, and this hand I've grabbed the side of Beth's trousers and like a frilly pad as well. This hasn't got much to grab onto, these trousers. Are you ready? Steady. So a little bit of a tug and wiggle. So our hip bones are now here and here, so they're not quite even. Probably about as good as you'll get. So they're there and there at the minute. So then get that seatbelt on. So the seatbelt is across the legs. Clip it together. If you think because she's got thinner trousers on or something like that that you can pull it a bit tighter, push down on the seatbelt and pull on the strap. Make it nice and tight. Now I find that when Beth gets in this sling, this side of her jumper seems to wrinkle up a bit. So you might just want to give it a little pull down. Just make sure that's all nice and comfy. And before we come to the head, let's finish off with the bottom part. So the bottom part, fold your sling over one side and then tuck it over the pommel bit, the middle bit. And same with this side, fold it in so the flat side is showing and then tuck it over the pommel bit, and then that should just tuck most of it out the way. The bits at the side, some people do wind up the straps and tuck them in. Can do that if you want to, but as long as they're tucked out the way and down the side of the chair and they're not going to catch on anything, that's okay. So unlike the previous chair, there are no lateral supports to tuck the sling behind, so it's a kind of folding process. So I'm going to sit you up slightly. So I tend to sit Beth up a little bit, not necessarily the whole way, because I don't want to put too much tension onto the tubing, but enough that I can squeeze behind and I can do some folding. So I tend to think about turning this into triangle slices and just turning it over. So turn it in on itself once, twice. It's not, oh, tell you what I haven't done the headrest. So let's just lift Beth's head out the way. Tuck that underneath the headrest so that you've got the full extension of this now. So do that again. So fold it under once, twice. It's not an exact science. As long as it looks comfortable enough, you don't want a massive ridge to be created under here. And then make sure you tuck all these straps away. So I would say always do the sling before you change the tubing, just because particularly on this side, you'll see in a second, when we do it on this side, there's a lot of tubing that gets in the way and down here, so you don't want to have connected Beth and then push your sling down there and disconnect something. It makes it tricky. So do this bit first. So fold it over, 1, 2, tuck it out the way, be careful not to disconnect anything, and then we're ready to change over the tubing. What I tend to do is change it and then do the headrest, but just to show you now, make sure Beth looks like her shoulders are comfortable, and then her headrest that should be in a good position for most of the time, and the lever to use is the quick release here. So I'm just going to loosen it just to show you. So that quick release means that I can still tilt this, and I want the position of the headrest to be, it shouldn't be touching on Beth's neck and it shouldn't be all the way up here, so you kind of want it to be pretty much over her ear is about the right place for it. And then tighten that up, make sure it's nice and tight, because Beth can push on it and push it out the way. Let's sit you all the way up, sweetie, now. So looks like a good position, and then we'll move on to changing the venting and stuff. Stop there.